Welcome back to the D Biggest Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. My other host right over there.
What's up? It's Dee. Good to see you again. Be sure to hit that like button, drop some comments below, let us know your thoughts about these games, and more importantly, subscribe because we are talking all of the college football playoff matchups.
Yep, we have SMU and Penn State, and big announcements for the Penn State quarterbacks, the backups in the transfer portal. Drew Aller staying next year for Penn State, and they're looking really good coming into this. I dare I say Penn State has the best path right now to the national championship.
That is the conciseness. Yes. I mean, realistically, they have to win these games, but everyone looked at this bracket and they were like, this is kind of bullshit. Like, the number one seed has either Ohio State or Tennessee as their first matchup. And Penn State is going to get SMU and then Boise State and then walk into the semifinals. Like that's pretty crazy. And I think that's something that they're going to have to look at moving forward. But now it's up to Penn State to just go up there. And I don't think this is a big game for them. I think that realistically, this is a game that they win. I think that they go in there, and even if they have their C+ game, I think they get the win.
Yeah, I agree. No knock to SMU. They've had a solid year, but this Penn State team, what we just saw out of them in the championship game, it surprised me. Like the fight that they had in them, the explosiveness that they had on offense. I know the defense let up, but we've seen this season how good that defense can be. And going against the drop off in talent, like let's just be real, from Oregon to SMU, they should be able to not so much dog walk them, but beat them pretty handedly.
They're going to beat the shit out of them. I mean, let's be real. SMU doesn't deserve to be here. Like, SMU does not, like, if we're looking at the playoffs as a whole, like, SMU should have been eliminated with that championship loss. One of the SEC teams shouldn't have lost one of their games down the stretch. Like, one of them, either Ole Miss or Alabama, but they both shit the bed. And SMU is here out of luck, if we're going to be completely honest with that. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, I think that Penn State is going to blow this team out. Like, this team does not deserve to be in the playoff. They are not playoff caliber. They showed that. So I think that Penn State is going to go in there. They're going to blow the doors off of them, and they're going to walk into, this matchup with Boise with their head held high, knowing like we have an easy path to the semifinals.
Which, like, I know we're going to talk about the matchup next week, but I feel like the Boise matchup could be tougher for Penn State than this SMU one, just from the way that Genty and Matson Maddox have played, and that defense I think has stepped up at times. But yeah, right now Penn State 8.5 point favorites. I think SMU is plus 255 straight up. I think I would feel pretty confident to take Penn State to cover in this one. I think a 10-point win isn't really crazy without reason. And Penn State rolls on to the next round.
100%. I think James Franklin has to put his foot on the gas on this one. I think they do have to blow them out to keep the momentum rolling. If it's a close game, I don't feel like it has the same effect as you going in there and blowing out this team. I don't think this team deserves to be on the same field as Penn State. We've got some weird things going on at Penn State, though. I mean, if let's say something happens to Drew Aller, they do not have a backup quarterback because of the way the transfer portal is open during the playoffs. Like, their Bo Pribula is going to be out. I mean, he's now transferring out. He's in the portal. He's going off with Drew Aller announcing that he will be staying at Penn State. That is kind of like a big deal, if we're going to be completely honest. Yeah, it's not the starter, but it very much, like, in another season, it could be that guy. Let's say like something happens. I know I had someone bring up the example of, what if Ashton Genty was a sophomore and had this season, and instead of staying at Boise State, he hit the transfer portal and decided to go to Bama or Georgia. What would Boise State do? Because they can't play him. Like, you know what I mean? They're just going to look like shit in the playoff. Like, so something needs to be changed about this format as far as how we're opening things up. I know it has to do with the fact of the actual school enrollment, but something has to change, because we cannot have these guys that are key pieces in some of these teams that are in the like G5 or even the lower power 4 be picked off by like the upper echelon, because then it's just a fugazi playoff.
Yeah, and I know there is another transfer portal window after the playoff, but that's already like everything's already decided. Players have already filling gaps. There's so much going on. Like you definitely have to hit the portal within this time frame, and we're just lucky right now that there's no really starters being impacted. I know there's players on the bench of all these teams that are hitting the portal, but if it was you're right, a star player, it would take a major hit. They got to be worried about the TV numbers. If that's all they care about for getting some of these teams in, you're hurting your product by getting some of these players not in the game from the portal.
Yeah. And even then, even though it's not a starter, it's gonna affect Penn State. Penn State already they've said they've used this guy before in packages just to switch things up. And again, if Drew Aller goes down, they're turning to a guy that had 0 snaps. They're like just gonna be like, okay, like you might as well just X them out of the playoff at that point. So I just think that this is a much bigger deal, and it's going to be a bigger deal moving forward if we just don't get a something to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, you guys let us know how you feel in the comments. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and go watch our other videos talking about the other matchups in the playoffs. So we'll see you next time.
Later.